leopard and the one responsible for the majority of our incredible leopard sightings, the amazing Queen Karula, framed by beautiful golden morning sunlight. What a perfect scene to have stumbled upon. Well, I say stumbled upon, we knew where it was. This is just magical. One little cub, I'm not sure which, I haven't had a closer look. One little cub is off somewhere, just in the bushes, somewhere here. I can't see exactly where it is. I've lost it now. It was walking. Oh, there it is, it's in the tree. It's in the leadwood tree. What are you doing? Are you practicing? Just two little paws poking out on either side. Now what? Uh-oh. Back we go. Down the leadwood. Whoopsie. Carefully. Very gracefully done. Ouch. That didn't look like a terribly comfortable landing, little one. Now looking across at Mom and slowly making its way towards her. Look at that full belly. My goodness me, how they've grown. It's been an absolute joy to watch these two grow up. Going straight back towards Mum. We'll get a gentle and affectionate head greeting, unless, of course, another tree provides a distraction again. Oh, a little bit of chest cleaning. Oh, wow. Have you ever seen anything so beautiful? Whack. And going off to join cub number 2. Oh, hold on. Stop for a moment. Look at that. I think there are some sightings that actually don't even need words. Karula thoroughly unimpressed with that interruption of her morning nap. Snarling, showing her teeth. I suppose I would be too if I was whacked in the face by a very large cub. Her cubs have lost their cub softness. They're starting to look like proper miniature leopards. Mom's showing her exasperation, tail flicking, teeth showing, as if to say, come on. I've worked hard for you two, and now I've got to go out and do it all again at some point soon. Let me rest. There you go, that tail betraying her mood, as it does for all big cats. I hope you're taking a load of screenshots to share with us on #SafariLive, because really, the leopards could not have set this shot up better if they'd tried. Of course, that's none of their concern. We just are lucky enough to experience these truly magical moments. And I mean, this is magic. It's positively given her a halo in the morning light. Something's got her attention now that her head is up. I think she's just listening to the sounds of the bush. Karula is an ever-vigilant mother, constantly on alert, and ready to warn her cubs if danger approaches. Luckily, yes, that's definitely going to improve her mood. No cat can resist the lure of a tail, whether it's our lion cubs or our leopard cubs. It's just the best plaything that nature has ever provided them with. Mom's tail. Still betraying her agitation, flicking up and down. And then also, to a degree, serves as a very good training platform. The unpredictable movements of a tail are a good way to learn to catch unpredictable prey. Hi, gorgeous. Clay, in New Jersey, you want to know whether or not I've ever come across a cub that has been trapped in a tree. I've seen cubs that have got themselves into tricky situations. I've never seen one get properly stuck. I've seen them be scared and clearly uncertain as to how to get down, and I've seen moms calling frantically up to them to try and get them to come down. But with leopard cubs, no. They're adventurous enough, and luckily for them, have the resilience of youth that the odd tumble doesn't cause them any major damage. They do occasionally fall out of trees. It is just the way of things. So no, not with leopard cubs. I've seen them, as I said, get into tricky positions, but they always find their way down. Lion cubs, on the other hand, I have seen stuck up trees with mothers frantically calling to them, and cubs clearly with no clue as to how they're going to get themselves out of the predicament they found themselves in. Oh. Ouch, that was a sore bite. You can see how thoroughly unimpressed she is. Shame, girl. It's the price you pay for being so successful. You've got to tolerate the odd sharp claw and sharp tooth embedded in your tail. Pure mischief, bundled into a couple of pounds of fluff. Oh, that's beautiful. Sorry, I've run out of words to try and describe this because it is just so incredibly beautiful. Let's have a look at sibling number 2, who is not interested in playtime this morning and is thoroughly invested in getting what's left of the impala kill. As you can see, she hasn't hoisted it. Hello, little boy. This is the male, right? I'm not going crazy. That was the female and this is the male. So this is Hosanna. And he is thoroughly invested in this impala kill. You can see it hasn't been hoisted, but whereas an adult impala kill would have lasted Karula easily 3 or 4 days in the past before she had these 2 little bundles to feed, now, in basically 24 hours, the impala kill is all but finished. The little ones have voracious appetites, lots of growing, particularly the little boy, who is almost, I mean, not quite, but he's getting to the point where he's almost as big as Karula. His feet are basically the same size as Karula's. All that growing means a constantly hungry little leopard cub. Luckily for these two, their mum knows how to provide. Unless I'm very much mistaken, they've now got their permanent teeth coming through. Apparently there's some confusion, and I have to confess I'm confused as well from my perspective, because obviously we've got the bright sunlight shining into our eyes. This to me looks like Hosanna, unless I'm very much mistaken. I think Shongile's eyes are no longer that brown color that she started off with at birth. To me, where is she? I can't even see her in real life. Oh, there she is. No, this is Shungile. Beautiful little thing. Look at her massive paws. Isn't that incredible? Yes, that's why I didn't actually say he, she in the beginning, because it wasn't so easy to tell initially. It wouldn't be the first time we've made this mistake, and her eyes have definitely changed color. But the expression in them hasn't changed. Bright, burning curiosity. I think she's going to be a big girl. Especially with a mum like Karula providing for her. she goes, exploring her world, showing the independence that's so typical of female cubs. There you go. Now you can see it. Slightly thinner face than her brother, with a slightly more, in my opinion, pronounced W on her forehead. Much like her mother's wow. Oh. Michael, you want to know at what age before Shongile becomes independent? Shongile, for our new viewers, is this little female cub, and females generally become independent. Oh dear. Well, that was a silly place to put your head. Oh, we can't see your beautiful face. That's okay. I don't think she's going to be still for long. For our newer viewers, female cubs often start to show independence and often become independent sooner than their male counterparts. So Shongile will probably become independent before Hosana, who is the one gorging himself on the leftovers. And Michael, you wanted to know at what age Karula will become intolerant of their shenanigans before Shongile becomes independent. They're getting to that point already. It's a difficult one because it will depend very much on the individuals. We saw Shadow snarling at Sindile before he was a year old, whenever he approached a carcass, whenever he went to approach her and show affection to her. But that might have been because of her body going back into estrus. Salaheshe, on the other hand, we've seen either ourselves some amazing sights of affection between the two, or we've heard reports from other guides that the two of them play constantly together, even though Tiani, her cub, is nearly a year and a half old. So it depends on the personality. I don't know Karula as well as some of our other viewers know Karula. Oh, well, I can tell you that she's definitely not in a good mood this morning. So those of you who have seen Karula raise her cubs before to adulthood, I haven't. How does she respond? When does she start to lose tolerance? Somehow I have a feeling she doesn't really. I think she probably keeps up her relationship with her cubs until they are independent and until she goes into estrus again. That would be my guess, Michael, but I haven't watched her cubs grow up. I'm open to those of you who have seen her raise a Djuma in quarantine, and Mishu and Nduna and Shinvinzi and Shimbambalana, the way that she handled things, and of course Tundi and Shadow. I have a feeling she's quite a tolerant mom. Wiem, was she intolerant of Djuma in quarantine?
By the time I saw them, they were already on their own.
Okay, so by the time Wiem saw them, they were already independent. What are you doing, little one? You're going to stalk Mom now. Somehow I don't think she's in the mood for it, little one. Karula glancing off in the direction of the south. Been discussing what's going to happen with her Dacre kill now. She won't have forgotten that it's there, but when is she going to go and reclaim it? I'm just trying to think, now that the sun is getting higher, if there's a way that we can shade ourselves slightly. Oh, hold on. And there you go, Brittany, while we watch Mom and daughter. I was going to say have an affectionate morning. I think the affection is relatively one-sided right now. Ah, there we go. Sit still so I can give you a bath. Brittany, you want to know how long will the recent kills keep Karula satisfied before she goes hunting again? I think they're going to move to the Dacre sometime during the day today. That would be my guess. And by tomorrow, Karula will be on the hunt once again. That Dacre, although that being said, they've got full bellies, so we might be lucky in that it might keep them here for another day and a half. But that Dacre's not going to go far. Oh, it's tough work being the mom of a big cat. They don't make life very easy for them. So there we go from Ellen Fowler. Thank you very much. Apparently she is tolerant for a long time. Thanks, Ellen. I thought she might be. Apparently, particularly her males stick around Karula for a long, long time. So there we go. That's for Michael's question about Karula losing tolerance with Shungile. That was my suspicion with her behavior. I think it's one of the big reasons why she has been so successful. She definitely has beaten the odds, this particular female leopard. Yes, pick the ticks off your mom. It's the least you can do now that you've woken her up. And bitten her tail. Aww, look at Karula's face. Her grumpy mood hasn't lasted very long. The bond between the big cats and their mothers is something that I think is one of the most touching things to witness out here. I think all mothers, not just the big cats, but I think because we spend so much time with the big cats, it becomes something that you'd have to be the coldest-hearted person in the world not to be touched by.
Good morning, mobile station. Can I have an update, please?
Look at this. Look at her face.
Morning, thanks. I'm traveling Ghana. Djuma, Cheetah, and Nat.Geo. Yeah, Karula, she just dragged that meat across the
Oh, it's too beautiful.
jackal pay in Molowaki. Jamie, she's okay now. I'm with it.
Now, Lindsay, we've got Shungile and Hosanna now, and we've spoken about Karula's previous litters, and that's led to your next question, which is a fairly logical follow-on. Do leopards always have twins? I'm naughty. I keep referring to them as twins. They're not actually technically twins. They're siblings, but they're not twins. The fact that they are two from the same litter doesn't make them necessarily twins, I don't think. I have to try and remember if that's the exact technical terminology. But no, they don't necessarily just have two cubs. They can have three. They can even in very rare situations have four, but the survival rates, the larger the litter gets at that point, the smaller the survival rates. Two is the most common number. And you can occasionally get leopards that have one cub as well. But usually the average is around two. It just depends on the individual and the circumstances at the time. Oh. Yes, get to the spot that your mom can't get to. Pick away the ticks that always sit on the back of her neck. There's a good girl. Yum. Delicious. Wash down a breakfast of impala with some ticks from the back of mom's neck. Karula's snarling again. Ouch, that was obviously sore. Oh, there her eyes look that brown colour in that light. And settled once again. Right, let's have a look at what you're up to, mister. And there we go. Fran has said, what an amazing way to start the day. Makes waking up at 4 a.m. worthwhile to see her favourite animals in the glorious morning light. Well, Fran, I think we feel much the same way. Our early mornings, I think that this is one of the reasons why it's my favourite time to be up and about. And having times like this just really... Look, I mean, any time spent in the bush is amazing, but these are the truly extraordinary moments that we will remember for a long time to come, especially with all of your screenshots to help remind us of these special moments. I need to somehow start collecting some of the screenshots from my favourite times. As you know, I generally don't have a camera with me, So your screenshots really do serve to provide amazing memories for me. And I've noticed recently on social media that started providing this time 1 year ago, how much of a role your screenshots have actually started playing in my life. It's an interesting thing, something I never thought I'd say. They serve to remind us of these truly special times. And we've got to grab the opportunities to spend time with these pig cats for as long as possible, because as the cubs start to get bigger, we'll see less of them. Well, hopefully not, but you never know. We've got to treasure these moments. And of course, to look back on when these two are all big and grown, and Safari Live is still following their stories, when Hosana is looking for a territory of his own, and when Shungile has babies of her own. Just like all of you have done with the previous litters of Karula, and Karula herself. There's not much left in this impala, but that hasn't bothered Hosana. He is thoroughly tucking in. He just looks like a little boy. Got a little boy face to me. Oh, gorgeous. I think that looks like they've got their permanent teeth now. Or at least their permanent canines. They're still growing. But from what I can see, those look much more solid than the little needle-sharp baby teeth of the past. I could be wrong about that, but I haven't seen these cubs properly in a long time. As Hosana cleans away at the carcass and our two leopard ladies sleep away, let's go and find out what Brent is up to since he left Tundi. The Queen looking thoroughly royal this beautiful, beautiful morning. Just bear with me one moment. I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel for updates about Mvula, who of course was the dominant male leopard of this area. He's now shifted a little bit further to the north, but a very, very popular leopard character with many of our long-term viewers. I'm just listening to updates. Apparently there were lots of hyena around last night. He's around his waterbuck kill, but I'll keep you updated when we know a little bit more. In the meantime, the royal family, or at least one royal princess, is having a thorough morning snooze. Now that she's woken Mom up, she's gone back to sleep. Isn't that a story that many of you moms out there will identify with? Good morning, Mom. I'm awake now. Okay, now I'm asleep. Poor Mom's wide awake. Oh no, she's dozing off again. Luckily, the big cats are very good at sleeping. She's alert to something, but I think she's just listening to the sounds of the morning, making sure that her brood is still safe. And you? You're still hungry? And Justin, while we watch our leopards consuming, well, one leopard consuming his breakfast. Yes, it is common for leopards and lions to get splinters of bone in their digestive system. They generally, once it hits their stomach, their stomach acid is quite good at dissolving most of it, so it's unusual for it to get stuck further down in their intestines. But occasionally they do swallow chunks or hunks of bone and hoof that they just stomach can't cope with, and that doesn't make it through the bottom sphincter. So it doesn't make it through into the intestines. At that point they go and eat some grass, tickle the back of their throats, and they bring up what's left in their stomach. So they vomit it up, and they go about their day-to-day business. And they're very good at coping with a very, very harsh diet. Now, yes, it is common for that to occur, but they've evolved a way of not damaging their internal organs. Now, if it were a small kill, a Deko or a Steenbok perhaps, a Karula would be able to eat almost all of it. We've seen her do that before. In fact, I think it was my second ever sighting with Karula. She got hold of a Steenbok. It must have been quite a small one. And she proceeded to eat it from tail to face and left 2 bits of jaw. That was it, and some fluff. It was unbelievable. She was obviously really very, very hungry at the time. She probably hadn't been successful in a few days, and she really did thoroughly devour that Steenbok. The boon, of course, will come for them with the adult impala in the not-too-distant future. In fact, now it'll already be starting, where they're catching the females who are heavy and pregnant, and the fetus's soft bones, the baby impala, provide them with a very important source of calcium. And in fact, the timing of the impala pregnancy season, whilst it is sad for them, for these two cubs it couldn't come at a better time. When they're doing all of that growing, is timed perfectly with the breeding season of the impala. Obviously unintentional, but Karula got her timing spot on. The growth spurt of the leopard cubs will match perfectly. And they are going to grow fast now. Looks positively disdainful as he chews on that bit of impala, using his carnassial shear to its full effect. There we go. Done. Managed. Next, you can see that bone's completely cracked. He's actually managed to lick out a little bit of the bone marrow. Bit gruesome, if you're squeamish in that way. But for him, a very, very important nutrient, that bone marrow. Very rich in protein and other sources of nutrients. And welcome to Carl K, who has joined us for the first time on YouTube and says this is the best show on YouTube. Well, I'm biased, but I happen to agree with you. Don't you find it amazing that technology has progressed to the point that we can bring you these images live from the middle of the African bush? I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and all of our new viewers on behalf of the entire Wild Earth family. I'd say on behalf of the royal family as well. Karula, Hosana and Shungile. I'm not too sure they're terribly bothered though, but Carl K, it's lovely to have you on board. I think you might find this will become your newest addiction. Please feel free to send through any questions that you might have. Don't worry that some of our viewers have been watching for many years and they know a lot about these animals. We're still very, very happy to hear from you, and I'm sure if we don't answer, our regular viewers will be happy to provide the answers that you are seeking. And I'm very glad that you have been provided with an... Oops, sorry, there's my head. I'm trying to keep it out of the shot. I'm very happy that you have been provided with this as your opening moment to the live safaris. We're on every day, twice a day, and in my opinion, short of being here, and in fact there's also added advantages. For example, the camera can bring you images that your eyes cannot, but this is probably the best way to experience wildlife short of actually being on the back of a safari vehicle. It's live, which means we can't edit, we can't script, the animals do it for us, and what a stunning set they have provided for us this morning. Doesn't get better than this. And of course, look, I mean, we've been on and on about the leopards, and we've had quite a leopard-themed morning already this morning, but there are other creatures out here, some of them much larger. Let's go and have a look at what Brent has found. Queen Karula, framed by the beautiful green of springtime here in Africa, and of course the gorgeous morning light. And she's sort of half dozing, half alert, keeps looking off in the distance. I think perhaps she's trying to determine whether or not I'm hearing a classes cuckoo or a thick-billed cuckoo, which would of course win me the argument with Brent. I'll have to go and search for it later. I can hear it. Relatively, not of course that it proves anything, but I'm relatively certain that we are listening to a classes cuckoo. The sounds of the birds in the drainage line just add to the incredible scene in front of us. Staring contemplatively into the distance. Oh, she's got an ant on her ear. Is that an ant or a fly? Ah, it's just gone over the side. There it is. Well done, girl. And welcome, as always, to Margaret in Kansas, whilst we enjoy the view of little Hosana adding to his size and weight. Margaret wanted an idea to give us sort of a comparison of size of these two little cats in terms of size and weight. You think about this for a second, in terms of size. I mean, Hosana is about a third bigger than his sister, at least. He is much, much larger, but we kind of need him to stand up so we can really get a nice comparison. If I had to guess at a weight, looking at him now, I would probably put him somewhere, especially with a belly full of impala that he is still keen on adding to. If I had to guess at a weight, I would say probably in the region of 25, maybe 20, mid-20s in kilograms, which equates to about 50 odd kilograms in weight. I'm kind of going off my dog as she grew and the sizes and the weights that she reached. She's a Weimaraner, so she's much thinner. She's not as stocky as these cats. And she weighs about 33 kilograms now. I'd say that Hosanna is probably around 25. His sister's probably about 20 or so odd kilograms. She's currently hidden behind one of the trees, but she's lying behind Mum. So that puts them both of them in the region of around 50 pounds, give or take a little bit in terms of Hosanna's size, because he is bigger, as is the case with all male cubs. I also think the giant size of Shongile's paws, I don't know if it's just because she is tiny and they're disproportionate, but my suspicion is that she's going to be quite a big girl. If Tingana is her father, there's a good chance that his massive genes. Karula's, to me, not a huge leopard, but she is stocky and well built. I think the combination is going to be very, very pleasing. She has produced some amazing leopard cubs in the past. I mean, Quarantine, I haven't really seen Kunuma recently, but Quarantine, seeing him yesterday, he's absolutely massive for a 4-year-old leopard. And that will only be to their advantage. Yes, there's a great deal of personality involved, but having a bit of size on your side will also be a huge plus, especially because as Karula gets older, her territory becomes more and more threatened. I mean, it's natural. It's not something that she has never faced before. Oh, no, I think Brent's right. Sorry, I've got half a mind on these cuckoos as well. Okay, let's hold on. Let's hold off on any pronouncements. She's got not the threat of young female leopards. It's something that's always there as a possibility in terms of defending her territory. But in Cheetah, the granddaughter of Salaheshe, has been seen a few times on Djuma, as has Tsikani, the older daughter of a Kotile female leopard, both of whom have been seen exploring Djuma. They haven't established themselves at all, and it might just be all part of the natural progression as they seek out a little piece of the northern Sabi sands for their own. The time may come where Shongile does have to fight and defend her new territory, in which case a size advantage will certainly help, and most definitely for this little chap, size will always be an advantage. So he'd better tuck into his impala breakfast. The growing boy. And there's actually quite a over for now. I'll give a shout if they decide to come back into this direction. Somebody's not concerned about the bird life around him. Hosanna is not an eager birder, unless it's edible. And while it seems as though there's a relatively common pattern, at least while I've seen the cubs. I know it was the other way around with Brent. There seems to be a common pattern in that Hosanna, whenever I arrive and see them, seems to be monopolizing the food. Lucy in South Bend, Indiana, you're wondering if Shongile and Hosanna will ever feed together or if they will always feed separately. They will feed together. The competition will get fiercer as they grow older, and again it's dependent on individual leopards, how they will respond to each other. But I'm relatively certain, although perhaps we didn't see it with this impala kill, I'm relatively certain that at one point or another they would have fed together, one on one side, one on the other, giving them each other a little bit of space, but still relatively content to share. As they get older, the impulse to be solitary and to be possessive over their food will get stronger, and perhaps their time sharing peacefully will be limited, but they'll still do it. And they might even continue to share kills for a little while after they gain independence. You can never quite fully predict what the animals are going to do. Ariana, who is a new viewer, lovely to have you on board as well. And the same applies, we were talking earlier. I'd like to extend the warmest of welcomes to you. Ariana, you wanted to know what would happen to these two if something terrible were to happen to Karula. At this stage, at nearly 8.5 months old, they're probably still too young to take care of themselves. And chances are they would probably not survive, unfortunately. After about a year old, there's a slim chance, if something does happen to a female leopard, that her cubs will survive. But they still haven't, although these two are more than capable of hunting and catching something small, they still haven't really perfected it. And although they might have the odd moment where they do manage to successfully catch a scrub hare or something, it wouldn't be enough to sustain them. It's only really at about 1.5 years that leopard cubs would be truly capable of being independent, even if they aren't fully at the time. At the moment, their survival depends entirely upon their mothers. Now, she's done an amazing job with them, and she's brought them through the most dangerous phase of their lives already. They've still got another 4 months or so until they reach 1 year old, which is when survival rates of leopard cubs dramatically increase. And I think Karula's got this well under control. Now, typically, mortality rates for leopard cubs tend to be quite high, which is why Karula is a much lauded mother in that she's beaten the odds time and time and time again, exceptionally well. That does make her very, very special in terms of her mothering abilities. Oh, yum! You found a really good patch there, little one. Something that nobody else had got to just yet. Lots of meat still on the shoulder of the impala. Or the neck, maybe. To be honest, I can't quite see which part we're dealing with here. Looks like shoulder. So yes, leopard cubs' survival entirely dependent upon their mothers. It's a strange thing, talking about Sindile and Shadow and the unfortunate dog incident. Now, Shadow is Karula's daughter. Just to go into a little bit of background quickly. Shadow is Karula's daughter. She's nearly 10 years old, and she's been far less successful than Karula in terms of raising cubs. It seems to be one of the reasons behind that is that her body goes into estrus far sooner than it should, which means that she instinctively leaves for days at a time to go and mate with a male, effectively leaving her little cubs to starve or to not survive. And she can't help that. It's instinctive. It's biology. That being said, it might also just be that she's incredibly unlucky and that she's lost most of her cubs and so gone into estrus early. But she did go into estrus very early with Sindile. And at the time she was off mating, he was just over 1 year old, or just about 1 year old, and he ended up trying to hunt for himself and caught a stray dog or feral dog that had wandered onto the reserve that later turned out to be rabid. And as a result, he was taken into quarantine. Now, there's a part of me that wonders, that will always wonder, and of course will never know, as to whether or not that unfortunate incident, however awful it may have been at the time, and it was awful, and he was so up in the air as to what was going to happen and where he was going to end up. I sort of wonder if that he might not have survived if that hadn't happened. He still wasn't old enough to be capable of looking after himself. Shadow would have gone into estrus more and more frequently. She would have left him for longer periods of time. I don't know. It's something that has occurred to me. That perhaps Sindile's survival has actually been determined by one random, totally bizarre incident that resulted in him being kept in 8 months of captivity. At which point, when he was released back here, he was old enough and strong enough to look after himself. Hard to believe that he was just a few months older than these two little things when he was taken into captivity. Well, not captivity, quarantine, essentially. And you can see by the way he responds to people on foot that he was not in any way exposed in a negative way and habituated to people in a way that would have been detrimental to him. He's actually terrified of people on foot, which is exactly the way it should be. You do not want a leopard that has become accustomed to people and has lost the innate sort of barrier, personal space barrier. Karula, of course, and her cubs are very comfortable with people on foot. They've been tracked their whole lives, but we never push that boundary. As soon as you see them, you back out and you move off, or if she's comfortable, you can sit and watch them from a safe distance. And that is a very, very rare thing indeed, and it's testament to the skill of the Sabi Sands guides and trackers that the leopards are at that point, where it can be done safely without impacting the animal negatively in any way. Standing by attacks. Sorry, everybody. That's affirmative tax. Just myself. You're welcome to make your way in. One Mapimpan's feeding off the bamba, the others lying up with Karula. We're going to have company soon. And in fact, once tax arrives, we'll probably move out and start moving off towards those lines, just because there's actually only really one good spot to see the cubs, and I've taken it. The whole skull's gone. And Blair in Canada, wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving to yourself and all of our Canadian viewers. I hope you are enjoying this as a wonderful appetizer to the start of your Thanksgiving dinner. My apology if perhaps it's ruined a few appetites. Blair, you've seen the male lions sharing quite happily and tolerating the cubs. No, that's a horn, little one. That's not going to be very yummy, except perhaps as a toothpick. Blair, you wanted to know, because you've never seen a male leopard with cubs, and you were wondering, have we ever seen it? I've seen it many times. I haven't seen it on these live safaris before, strangely enough. We hear reports of Tingana sharing with Karula and her cubs, and Shadow and her cub when her cub was still alive, many, many times. It does happen frequently. As long as it is a male that has mated with the female, she will tolerate his presence and he will tolerate the presence of her cubs. It's when stranger males, nomadic males, are involved that it becomes very, very dangerous. But with Tingana, you'd probably find he would be quite content to share. He'd probably growl a little bit at the cubs. But very often, males are seen feeding with their suspected offspring for even after their independence, like Mvula in quarantine, for example, often sharing kills. And even in a strange turn of events, Mvula and Sindile sharing kills. So it does happen. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it has been seen on the live safaris. You must have seen one of the male leopards sharing with cubs before. Maybe not.
I haven't seen it, but Mvula was babysitting the boys once.
Oh, okay. So Mvula apparently was babysitting Kunyuma in quarantine once. Oh, yes, it does happen. I just haven't happened to seen it on our live safaris. Are we finally sated, little one? Is that enough yet, or are you just making... Nope, just shifting round, making room for more. Ariana, you wanted to know if male cubs have bigger stomachs, since this cub has been eating non-stop since we arrived. The reason I chuckled is because it's a very good question, and those of you with teenage sons or grandsons will be very familiar with this whole process. Look at him. He's positively bulging as he moves behind the jackalberry. I'm amazed that he could even make that jump. He is bigger than his sister, and males in general are capable of consuming more food, yes. I'm going to go stand on her now. Walked straight over her and on his way to Mum. So he's eating more because his growth rate is slightly higher. Stopping to relieve himself there. So he's growing slightly faster than his sister. But all predators are capable of gorging themselves, and if it's not Hosanna, it would have... Ah, here we go, look at this. Somebody else is hungry now. It is almost like she was waiting for her turn. So now she's going to go and gorge herself, Ariana. So it's the first time that Karula brought them back to the kill on Philemon's dip with Brent. Bounce. Neat, tidy little jump. There she goes. Oh, big stretch. Stretch out those claws before preparing for a meal. The meal that Brent was with them with, that's an interesting sentence, on Philemon's dip, Shungile was the one to tuck into the meal first. And you'll probably watch now, she's going to settle down at the carcass. Having first practiced her tree climbing skills a little bit, she's now going to tuck in. See what her brother has left behind for her in an age-old battle of the siblings. There we go. And done a neat little swap. So while you watch these sightings, Ariana, in future, you'll notice with all of our predators that they will gorge themselves to what look like a bursting point. I'm sorry, I have to. We're going to enjoy this view for 2 more seconds, and then I am going to have to move so that Taxon can have a view. Just bear with me one moment. Okay, I think it's time for us to say goodbye to our gorgeous leopard cubs. We might come back at the end of the sunrise safari. For now, we've enjoyed a magical moment and it's time to share up. All right, while we head out, let's go back across to Brent and we'll catch up with you soon.
Is it exactly where the squirrels were alarm calling? And it's already been moved from where it was with Jamie this morning, apparently. Maybe she's thinking about taking it up the jackal... Oh, Jean-Ray, do you see what I see in the jackalberry tree? I see a tail and I see some feet. There we go. There we go. So one of the little darlings is up in the tree. There could be another one. I'm hoping Karula's going to take it up the tree. Wouldn't that be fantastic? I'm just going to move forward a little bit. Who is that? That looks like Hasana up high. Oh, there we go. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Where's she going? Oh, we can't get a view. She's going to try to take that. There, she's up the tree. Oh, we can't see her. Can you got it? There she is. Sorry, this is really difficult position. It's a very difficult climb for Karula. That's incredible. Look at that. She's hanging. Oh, she nearly fell. She's dropped. Oh, that wasn't very ladylike. Don't hiss at me. It's not my fault you fell out of the tree. Okay, I'm going to take this opportunity to reposition in case she does try climb again. She might take it to the back of it. Let's see. Oh, that was fascinating. Let's see if she tries again. Or is she going to decide maybe not a good idea lifting into that tree? Oh, where are you off to? I think that's a little Hasana from what I can see. She just chose the wrong angle, Karula, to climb there, I think. It looks like she might try again. Maybe she didn't have a good grip on it. See how she's looking up. I haven't seen little Shongila yet. Daniel's... Oh, where's she off to? Sorry, Daniel. I wonder if she's worried that there's a hyena around or something that suddenly caused this impetus to hoist the kill. I think he's going to check something out on top of the bank there. Interesting. Let's move. Okay. While we move, Daniel is wondering how much do they eat in a day. Now, it completely depends on whether they're male or female. And they'll often go quite a few days without eating. So, Daniel... I'm just going to try and find a spot here. On average, a female leopard over the course of a month will eat about 3 to 3.5 kilograms of meat in a day. A male a bit more, around 4.5 kilograms. I want to see what Karula's looking at. And there's a lot of fallen trees in this area, so I'm just going to try to find my way through here. Alright, look, spot to lie down. After that slightly embarrassing moment. She is. Found a nice patch of cool sand where the elephants have dug up a tree. Giving herself a bit of a preen. Now, Sham's son is wondering, do leopards ever get hiccups? They do. Not too common, though. They more get hair-ups and have to cough up hairballs from time to time. She might have been a bit full to hoist that carcass. She's carrying lots of weight in the belly. Yeah, we're going to reposition, see if we can find a Shongile as well. While we do that, let's go back to Jamie and see what she's up to. Well, we haven't seen little Shongile yet, but I'm sure she's around somewhere. But there's young Hosana snoozing in the shade of a jackalberry tree. This is the same tree Karula just tried to hoist the kill into unsuccessfully. So, as I said, for those of you who might have missed it, just before we came across the leopards, I did tell you what the nearly impossible tree was. It was an Albizia harvii, a low-felt Albizia, just a really, really big one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. and just incredible. And we've driven past so many times because I think we're on such a mission to get down to Cheetah Plains. We've driven past that tree many times, but in Albizia harvii, or the low-felt false thorn, but a particularly big one, probably about 10 meters bigger than they normally get. There's a beautiful Ntoma tree, or jackalberry. Now, I wonder if Karula's going to attempt to hoist the rest of that kill during the day. Oh, I've got a feeling maybe not. What I think happened is the horns actually got caught, and that's what put her off. And you can actually see her claw marks on that little tree. So there's a little russet bush willow next to the big jackalberry tree, and if you look carefully on it, that's when she sort of gripped on when she realized she might not be able to get up. There we go, you can see those scrape marks on the tree. But I don't think too much more is going to happen here. What do you spot? Is it the kill? The kill. Still at the base, in the shade. I'm pretty sure Karula and the cubs are going to be here come sunset safari time. I'm going to drop back down into the riverbed. Maybe try and get one last view of Shongile. See where she's hiding. Now, it's incredible that she's already showing quite a lot of independence at that young age, which is not unusual for female leopards. And so she's probably going to become independent from her mother at a much younger age than young Hosanna. There's the queenie. Bye. We're going to go look for your daughter. Don't worry, we won't tell anyone you nearly fell out of the tree, Karula. Jessie is wondering, how old is Karula? If I remember correctly, she's 11, turning 12 next year. And the leopard... Oh, sorry, I apologize. She's 12, turning 13 next year, which means her daughter, who we saw this morning at Tandi, will be 9, turning 10. Okay, now where is little Shongi hiding? She won't be too far. As I said, she's showing that degree of independence that female leopards start showing at this age, and she won't be as dependent on Mother Dearest as the man who's peering down at us. Here's your sister. He was peering, he's now snoozing again. Full belly. Oh, he probably looks a lot better sleeping than any of us do. Let's move on a little bit. Now, where could that little female be? Oh, while we try see if we can get a view of little Shongile, Jamie has a